If you are new to print on demand, or you've started a print on demand store in the last year or so, but still are really struggling to make consistent sales or even get that very first sale, there's a big chance that you might be struggling in the design department. Now, even if you do the best research in the world and find niches that people are really looking for, if you aren't making designs that people want to click on, purchase, and actually wear, you're going to have a really hard time scaling this business to be a full-time income. Now, there's a huge learning curve when it does come to actually making designs for apparel and print on demand items. So even if you have a design background, things are sometimes a little bit different when it does come to selling print on demand products. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 of my best tips, hacks, and lessons for making really good sellable designs in print on demand. Some of these tips might be things you've never heard of before, so I definitely recommend sticking through all of them. So let's not waste any more time and just jump right into these. Now, Kittle has kindly sponsored today's video, and so I am going to be showcasing a bunch of their design capabilities throughout this video, along with each tip, and I'll have all their information linked down below if you do want to check them out and sign up with one of their subscription plans. They are seriously the easiest print on demand design suite that is specifically tailored to making things like t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, and any print on demand item you can think of. I love using them, and I know so many of you guys already do too. So let's just jump into this first tip. Now, one of the biggest things that I would tell a print on demand seller that is just learning how to make designs is to be very cautious when it comes to using too many different fonts and picking fonts that go together. Now, I find that a lot of times beginner designers, they really want to make things very complicated and add in a lot of different font styles, but I have found that the best combination for using different fonts in your designs for t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, tote bags, really any print on demand product, is to use two contrasting fonts. So you could do something like a very bold font along with a thin font, or more of a script cursive type font with a serif font that just looks very plain. But where people start running into trouble is when they use two fonts that are different but just a little bit too similar. So for example, if you use two different script fonts, it's kind of counterintuitive that those wouldn't work together, but they're just a little bit too similar that it seems like something is off when we use two fonts that really feel very matchy-matchy. So anytime you want to use more than one font in your design, I highly recommend using two fonts that are highly contrasted and not really venturing outside of more than two fonts, especially if you don't have a lot of design experience. The more and more layers you add, the more messy your designs can start looking, and that's going to lead to less sales. So the simpler you can keep it, the better. But if you want to mix and match some fonts, really make sure there is some high contrast between those, and that is going to instantly elevate your designs and make them look more professional. Now, the next tip is something that has been life-changing for me once I figured this out in my print on demand business. When I was first getting started, I was very tempted to always give customers as many options as possible when it came to the products I was selling, the colors I was offering in my different designs. But what I've really learned over the years is anything that we can do to simplify the buying process and the selection process for customers is going to help us convert more sales. So when you are designing products, I never recommend choosing more than 4 different colors for your product. So if you make a really cool design, even though sites like Printify have 20, 30 different color options for a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, you don't want to put your design on every single one of them and give customers too many options. I always recommend picking the best 2 to 4 color options for any of your apparel items and really just sticking to those. Now, what this is going to do is when customers actually click on your listing because they're interested in buying it, they aren't going to get analysis paralysis trying to decide between, ooh, do I want this cranberry red color or this bright red color? Or do I want the heather gray or the regular gray? So any decision that they have to make is going to potentially hinder them from actually following through on that sale. We want to make the buying process as smooth as possible. So don't feel like you are limiting your customers by just giving them a few options. This has actually led to me being able to convert even more sales, and it's just a lot easier for me to manage having fewer color options. So if you are always offering every single option under the sun when it comes to your designs and product colors, really scale that back and see how that helps your shop start making more sales. Now, the next hack that I use in my business that has seriously been life-changing in terms of designs, getting more of them out faster and just making things that look way way higher quality is using design templates. Now, when I was first getting started, I pretty much tried to make every single design 100% from scratch. So I was individually finding every single graphic, I was placing all the lettering, doing every single thing for each design. But in the last few years, I have relied heavily on using pre-made templates and then making a few tweaks to make them my own. So Kittl has a huge library of thousands of different templates for things like t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs. And what I love is that these are professionally designed. They look really good. They look sellable in whatever niche you have. So for example, if you are making a Christmas design and you have a really good Christmas phrase or niche, you can simply look up something like Christmas templates. It's going to bring up hundreds of those, and you can kind of just plug and play your exact phrase that you want to use. So if you're not a very skilled designer, this is the strategy I 100% would be using, is utilize templates, because you know those already are very good sellable designs. And when it really comes down to it, print on demand very much is a numbers and volume game. So if every single time you're designing, you're spending an hour, 2 hours on one design, that's not going to help you really bulk up your shop and get more listings out. But if you can use tools like templates to get maybe 5 designs out in a single hour, that is going to be huge in terms of actually building a scalable income every single month. Now, one of the next tips that I really want to stress for designers when you are creating your print on demand designs is you need to make sure that all of the graphics and elements you're using for your t-shirt really are cohesive and match. Now, unlike the font situation where I talked about, you want to have some contrasting different fonts. When it comes to the graphics or images or elements you're going to use on something like a t-shirt, you really don't want those types of graphics to be too different. So what I mean by something like this is if you have a really nice, maybe like pastel kind of watercolor type design, you aren't going to want to just pair that with kind of a like cartoonish regular t-shirt graphic. Those really don't go together. Now, either one of those would be really great for a shirt design, but when you're using multiple elements, you want to make sure that they're kind of in the same image family. Otherwise, it starts looking very messy and kind of confusing for your buyers, and they're just not going to ultimately click on your item and want to purchase that. Now, another hack that surprisingly so many people who are uploading print on demand designs don't do, so just doing this very, very simple step that takes seconds is going to set you apart from a lot of other people who are trying to upload and sell print on demand. And that is that you don't necessarily want to center your designs on every single product. Yes, you definitely want to center the design left to right. You don't want to have your design lopsided off to one side. But what I see a lot of people doing is for the vertical kind of up and down centering, they are going to automatically center that in the middle of the canvas area. Now, for most apparel items, that is going to look really funny. We want to be moving our design so it is all the way up as high as it can go. Specifically for t-shirts, things are going to look a lot better if they are around the chest area than if they are down kind of more towards the belly button area. And the same thing is going to go for stuff like hats, sweatshirts, tank tops, all of those items. You definitely want to center them left to right, but make sure the orientation is so that the top of the design is at the very top of the printable area. Now, there are some other items that are exceptions to this. Like for example, if you are selling something like a tote bag or a mug, you probably are going to want to more center that in the middle, but for any wearable items, you want to keep that very high. Now, one of the next lessons that I've learned that I want to tell every new print on demand seller out there that kind of encompasses a lot of these previous tips that I've talked about is that simple really sells. Especially if you're a new designer, sometimes it's really tempting to try to make these really complex, overly designed items. And that is not always going to be the best strategy. One thing that I have seen over and over again is sometimes my simplest designs are the ones that are doing the best over and over. I have thousands of designs that are just simple white text in one single font with not a single graphic on them, and those sell really, really well. Now, there certainly are situations where I want to add some really fun graphics and different elements to my designs, but a lot of times I just go back to the basics. People love just a basic t-shirt with one word on it, one phrase on it, with not a lot going on. So if you're struggling in the design department and just feel like things aren't really looking professional, you just can't figure out what you're doing wrong, maybe you just need to pare things back and really simplify it. Now, one of the next hacks that you can use to help you make more designs a lot faster is utilizing on Kittl the multiple artboard feature. So for example, say you make a design where one of the elements in it could be switched out for a bunch of different things to create somewhat of a scalable design. So think if you had something that said for 4th of July, like freedom loving mama, you could do that exact same phrase, but switch out one word and change it to be something like freedom loving aunt, freedom loving grandma, freedom loving grandpa. And so with the multiple artboard feature, you can simply copy your first design and paste it as many times as you want. And just by changing that one word, you could have hundreds of different designs. Now, scalable designs aren't always going to work for everything, but there are some instances where you can just save yourself a ton of time because you've already done the research and the work to make that first design. And just by doing a couple little tweaks, you have tons of other products that you can also upload. And I really like that on Kittl, you can do this all within kind of one project and you can download them all at one time. So you're not having to go back and create a bunch of individual new products every single time. So this is such a lifesaver if you are ever doing anything that is scalable. Now, along with that, another thing that has saved me so much time and actually helped me to get even more sales is whenever I create a design that I really, really love, even if it's in one completely different niche, if I come up with another niche that I want to sell something in, a lot of times I am going to make a copy of that exact design and I am just going to change the phrase, change out some of the elements to suit that new niche. So in my stores, even though I sell hundreds of different niches, you'll find that a lot of my designs look very similar. I find formulas and styles that really, really work for me, and I simply just change out a few things to use it for a new niche. So especially if you ever find that you have a design that does make a sale, really take note of what that looks like and try to reuse that exact same style over and over again. This is kind of like almost creating your own templates that you can use and reuse. Not every single time you come to the print on demand process do you have to reinvent the wheel. We want to make things as streamlined and easy as possible to get more and more designs out there. And another tip that I love doing that so many people don't even realize that this is an option is that you can reuse any of your print on demand designs, for example, for a t-shirt, for any other product. Now, one of the best ways I love to do this is anytime I get a sale on a t-shirt, I like to add that to a few other products, one of my favorite being a mug. And so all I do for my t-shirt designs, if I'm going to put that on a mug, is I am just going to do a copy of the design on the front and back side of the mug so you can see it whichever way you're holding it. A lot of people think that they have to make a completely original design for every single different product type that really is optimized for that specific canvas size. And that's not necessarily always true. You can save yourself so much time by just reusing those same designs for many different product types. Now, the next thing that I really wish I had learned way earlier on that has been a game changer for me is learning the most basic 4 design styles that you can use over and over again. I actually have a full video right here that is going to walk you through a quick tutorial of each of those, and all 4 of them only take about 5 minutes each, so you really can get super fast at designing if you just learn some of the basics here. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out Kittl and sign up for either a free or one of their paid plans down below if you've never have before. I can't recommend them enough. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.